Okay, school is back in session.
Back.
I mean, the buzz is back on campus.
Listen, can I just say this?
Okay.
I wasn't here last week, and I listened to the podcast on a flight home. I was laughing. I was crying. It was informative. There was a few emotional moments that grabbed me.
Wait, we need an update on your injury.
Well, that was what I was going to say. First off, I want to say I stand in solidarity. I, too, have been a Yellow Jacket victim in the last couple of weeks. Stung while I was mowing. And this is the only show that's going to stand up and say what needs to be said.
Say it. We're saying it.
It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic.
These things need to be eradicated.
Like
we're done with the Yellow Jackets.
Well, I'm going to tell you something about Yellow Jackets. Yellow Jackets, I took care of my business yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I took care of my business. I went up to the Ace or wherever it was, and I got me the big cans.
You went to town.
Hammered them yesterday.
Yeah, they're going to feel this.
I'm talking I hammered 2 big nests in the shed.
Yeah.
Then I hammered one above Gracie's bed. I'm hanging out the window, hammering them.
These Yellow Jackets are out of control.
Out of control. Jackets die.
So then our cameraman.
Then I hammered another one last night when I didn't even know about it.
One of our camera guys, Donald, sends me a text. And he's like, we do need to raise awareness. And like Matt said we need to have like the red and gold.
But
he was fixing a doormat and moved a chair in his front porch, 6 on a leg.
Stop it.
And
Flame Central
he didn't respond after that. So, Donald,
we're not sure he's still with us.
Donald?
Yeah, so he has 6 on one leg. I think they amputated.
No.
I think it was
Flame Central at Liberty.edu. Send us your worst Yellow Jacket stories from the summer. Let's do that.
It was bad. I mean, that thing, that's the worst part. That it's so
it lasted a week.
Itchy for so long.
A week.
Yeah. I got stung on Sunday. That evening, this is how bad it was. That evening.
Oh, no. See,
we are a week away from kickoff, and all we're talking about are Yellow Jackets.
I couldn't grab the pickleball. I couldn't play pickleball.
Oh,
I had to quit.
I
had to quit that evening.
Hey, so we have a great show ahead.
Yes, we do.
Willy Korn is our interview today. Awesome. I also have probably the greatest surprise for Matt and Joe. We will save that until after the interview.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you, when these guys are going to be absolutely shocked, floored.
I have no idea what this is.
I'm telling you right now,
no
it's
clue.
gonna be
A
incredible.
little bit.
Gosh, now I'm itching my arm again.
Have you been to a Buc-ee's? Have you been to a Buc-ee's?
No, but I got a shirt.
Okay.
I hope you wore your Buc-ee's shirt
Peace,
this
love,
summer.
and Buc-ee's.
I hope you wore your Buc-ee's shirt this summer.
No, I have not.
See, and then she
I
complains.
actually cut off the sleeves of it.
Oh, good.
You don't give me any gifts. I get her a gift.
We will hear from Coach Korn in just a moment.
Before you go any further, tell us about the deer crossing at the Greenbrier. Tell us about. You told us off camera. We want to hear about it.
You know what? I am one with nature now.
You were at the live event. You were at the live event.
I did go to the live event. Kieran Vincent, we followed him at the first round, the Pro-Am round on Thursday. So that was great catching up with him.
We'll
have a little mic'd up. There is a Greenbrier River, okay? And it's like mountains everywhere. I actually was getting my Montana fix, okay?
Wild, wonderful
And
West
there's
Virginia.
just this mom and baby deer walking across. It was beautiful.
Were they swimming across the river?
No, they're
I
in a
thought you said
drought.
they were swimming across the river. Then tell them what else you saw.
2 baby cubs.
Saw the cubs,
and
and then tell them about how the eagle landed on Jason's shoulder.
Shut up. Okay, can we talk about some football?
Let's do it.
We want to hear a little bit about the fan appreciation game because I was supporting Liv and not the Flames.
Right.
You know,
You were supporting the Flames through Liv.
Liv needs your support.
Yeah. And then we'll have an update on a former Flame who just signed with an NFL team.
Yep.
And Will Wagner.
Will Wagner's
is crushing it.
Yeah,
where he
he's hot right
belongs
now.
in the
He's hot.
major leagues. And then we have some great teases for next week's show. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
All I'm going to
we'll
say
talk about that in the second half.
is next week you better tune in.
It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be really good. We have a lot going on.
Okay, but first,
Yeah.
before we get to our Flames fantasy draft order,
Yes, we're going to get to
we
that.
want to hear about the fan appreciation game.
Yeah.
How'd it go? What did you guys? What
I thought it was
were
a
your takeaways?
good crowd. First
Great
off.
crowd.
Like we were packed in. They were waiting to open the gates. People are like, yeah, let us in. You know, is it like good vibe? Good fan base there. I will say this.
Had pitchforks and flames.
Right. Cowbells, all of it.
Cowbells, everything.
Yellow Jackets.
Defense. No, don't do it. Defense dominated. Do you see? I think that's pretty much the story of the night. Now, you go into those things, a couple of things. I want your take on this, Joe.
Yeah.
In football, is like baseball. You always say early pitching's always ahead of hitting?
Yeah.
Do you feel like defense is always ahead of offense?
Yeah, 100%.
And then the other part of it is they're not just rolling out the whole playbook in a situation like this. You know what I mean? Anybody can walk in there and shoot it on their phone or whatever. Coaches aren't going to do that. So pretty vanilla, but the defense did look really good and kind of adds to what we've been hearing all camp long about the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to tell much from these scrimmages because one, the coaches, players, everybody are so conscious of not getting anybody injured.
Sure.
So
there was no tackling.
You don't see really like it's thudding, like you don't really see much. It was great. I'm sitting in the stands watching some ladies behind me, and they were thudding.
Yeah.
They were like starting at the 25. Yeah. They kicked off a couple times. She said to her husband, she goes, I don't even know what's going on right now. What are they doing? Yeah. And the husband, he was trying to explain everything, but it was pretty funny. But anyways, so like it's hard to take away a lot from those. Like you're going to take away more from a full practice and what's really going on than you will from that. But I mean, the thing that I took away, I noticed more than anything, just from a scheme standpoint, is that Liberty's defense is like they're going to play you man to man. I mean, they had the corners up and press. That means they're going to load the box up. They're going to try to play you man to man. And you saw a bunch of fades being thrown. I believe it was Nate Hampton threw a really nice ball.
He had maybe the best ball of the night.
On a long pass, I believe it's for a touchdown. But, so I think defensively, when you see that, like that takes, as a defensive coordinator, it takes, we'll use the word guts. Yeah. It takes a lot of guts to be able to say, okay, we're gonna press you on the outside because you're gonna face some really good receivers and good quarterbacks that can take advantage of that. So you have to have a lot of guts, a lot of confidence in the players that you have, in the athletes that you have, in order to do that, just to make the commitment to do it. Yeah. So that speaks a lot for the level of talent that they feel as if they have on the field defensively.
We saw Brylan Green look like Brylan Green. He picked off Kaidon Salter. Another thing, Juju Gray, the transfer receiver, on a kick return. That's been his thing. Yeah. He, the last 2 years at NC State, kickoff return guy, he was one of the best in the ACC the last couple of years, and you saw one that he probably, it's again hard to tell. Like, what do you got? Looked like he would have taken to the house. So he looked explosive. So you're kind of picking like, okay, I see the skill set of this guy, the big Elijah Canyon receiver, 6'4". Yes. You look at him move, and you're like, whoa, okay, that's a different kind of athlete. So you're kind of, but to your point, you can't take too much out of it.
Yeah, so on last week's Flame Central show, we talked a little bit about the offensive line. And in Jamie Chadwell's press conference last week, he's like, we just don't have the consistency, the chemistry there yet. Obviously, they're replacing 3 starters from a season ago. But what's your concern level with the offensive line going into the season? Yeah, is that something that how much time does that take to work its way out for that 6 to 8 man rotation?
It does, but at the same time, I also going into last year, you're like, hey, they're going to have to rely heavy on the run, which they obviously did, led the first or second in the nation in rushing yards. So I think the scheme within the offense and what Kaidon Salter is able to do individually, not only from the pocket, but also when he just runs the ball. I think that bodes so well, having Quentin Cooley back, Kaidon there. It just gives so many different problems for the defense. And then the other big part of it too is that, is there talent across the offensive line? Absolutely. Do they have Bill Durkin as an offensive line coach? Absolutely. You take Billy Dirks, the talent, you take the offensive scheme, you take the players that you have. I would say I firmly believe Liberty will have no problem rushing the football from day one.
Well, and just one thing real fast. You
heard it first on Yacht.
You heard it here first. Well, like some of the things you talk about though, like, okay, you're replacing some of these guys who are very good. Well, you also brought in a guy, John Paul Flores, right? 7th year playing college football.
He's
35. His last 2 years.
7 years at college. Down the drain.
His last 2
what
years.
What movie is that?
Was that Tommy Boy?
Animal House.
Animal House, same thing.
Wait, what was it?
Mr. Lutarski.
I was thinking of like, they say something about like 7 years ago. Yeah, we call those people doctors.
Doctors.
But we're going to speak to a Dr. Korn here in just a moment.
But he's a guy that's played the last 2 years at Louisville and Virginia. So it's not like even the guys that are replacing what we lost are like, you're like, oh boy, he's really unproven. I don't know what he can do. Like you bring in a guy like that that is proven, is played at a high level. So talent-wise, I feel like they're in a good spot. It'll just have to, like you said last year, actually, and this year it could be similar to what you said last year. We didn't really see it. You were saying all last year, this time of year, give it time for the offense.
Right.
Going to take a little time. In reality, it really didn't. They hit the ground running.
Right.
But I think it's fair to say this year as well, with so many new receivers, some of those new offensive linemen, that to expect them to come out and be humming like they were late season last year, right out of the gate, probably isn't realistic.
And think about it. When you really dig deep to the past, Billy Dirk, this time last year, was like living in the frat house. You know, so now he's getting more.
Yeah, no
more
doubt.
All the coaches.
Remember, all the coaches were banged up or in the same house.
Yes, 100%.
So now that he's probably getting better sleep, they're going to be just fine.
There's one other important piece to Billy Durkin's life. He's out of the frat house, and he's got a new hip.
Oh.
Ooh.
He's got a brand new hip.
I thought he was moving.
He was a little bit.
Swivel,
his gait was off.
Yeah.
His lateral quickness was off.
And you know what Shakira said.
And now,
The hip don't lie.
the hip don't lie. He's back.
Right.
I mean, he's doing drills out there. So
there you go.
Anything else you guys want to add before we get to this incredible conversation with Coach?
No, I think that's
No?
it. No.
All right.
Dr. Willy Korn.
When I tell you, you want to stick around for this surprise in just a moment.
boy.
First,
We don't know.
She's really hyping this up.
Listen to
Better
this
be
great
good.
conversation with Coach Korn. You know that it is a big deal when quarterbacks
on now.
coach, co-offensive coordinator Willy Korn is in the house. Look, Matt Warner dressed for the
I'll
occasion.
tell you,
Look at that.
I didn't do this for Josh Lynham.
You know,
I don't do this for anybody.
Dress for success.
This is for you. Yeah.
Address him properly.
What?
It's Dr. Willy Korn.
Oh my gosh, what is up with the Dr. Korn?
Dr. Willy Korn.
Yeah.
Because he's the doctor. He dissects everything. He's the offensive.
Yeah.
The
He's
offensive
surgical.
he's a surgeon. He takes defenses. He rips them apart, dissects them, puts it back together. Boom, touchdown.
Pardon
Almost
me.
too easy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Korn.
Yes.
That would be my dad. That'd be Larry Korn.
Exactly.
There you go.
Larry
there you
Korn.
go.
Larry
Yeah. He'd
with one
appreciate the shout out there.
Larry-
OG Dr. Korn.
Larry with one R. Very clear there. Larry with one R. How much did you miss us here on the Flame Central podcast?
Oh,
I
it's
can't
been
believe you
bad.
came back.
I've been jealous, you know. Everyone else is getting asked to go over there. I'm just kind of
Hanging out in your office.
I'm getting picked last for basketball is what it is. That's what it
Are you
felt
doing the whole
like.
thing where you pick up your phone, just making sure it still works? Yeah. No, I think it. Can you call me? I just want to make sure this is still working.
Felt like it was a good show last time, but you know.
We wanted to get through as much of fall camp as possible to see, you know, how things were different. And now you have, like, look back to last year. There's a quarterback battle going on.
Yep.
Y'all's first year here. How different is it for you and Kaidon in the group this year?
Yeah, totally different feel in the room. You've got, you know, your established starter coming back, and Kaidon's just had such an outstanding offseason. I think one of the biggest things you're concerned about is after the year that he had and the success he had is does he come back and just kind of going through the motions, kind of cruising. He's already established, and it's been nothing even remotely close to that. I mean, he's come back hungry and has worked his tail off and has even gotten better. You know, he's improved from last season. Obviously, the physical skills are off the charts, but some of the things that needed to be improved upon last year in terms of just timing and anticipating and not waiting for guys to come open, he's taken tremendous strides and grown and matured a lot as a leader, still growing there, but he's really, obviously he's the established and the marquee guy. So it's a different feel in the room from that standpoint, and then just collectively, offensively going into year two, so many more people understand the base rules of the offense, and you can really get into more some of the distinct adjustments and things that might come up during the season. I think Bentley made that point at one point last year. He talked about, you know, when we got halfway through the season, you feel like as a player you were still getting a feel for how the offense ran and how it worked. And now going to year two with a lot of those guys, with Quentin, with Xavier Gray, with Jordan White, just a lot of guys coming back. It's just you can be a little bit more aggressive with your install because you're not teaching the basics quite as much.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the improvement for Kaidon. Is there an analytic, a number, something that you look at and say, okay, that, like, here's what I'm focused on, like where you can make a jump from last year to this year? Because you look at just the raw numbers, you're like 44 touchdowns, you know, almost 4,000 yards. Like, where do you improve upon that? What are you looking at specifically?
I think the biggest thing for him going into year two is consistent footwork and just being on time. He has the type of arm that he can be late and still get the touchdown or the big post that he threw to C.J. Daniels early in the season against New Mexico State. That's typically a three-step drop, gather, and I throw if it's there. If not, I work through the rest of my progression. Yeah. We got great protection. He takes 2 extra gathers, and he has enough arm strength to get it down. And so he's blessed with the ability to make some of those plays. But there's also times where maybe the first read is open, and he might be a little late, and we can get it out of our hands a little bit quicker, take a little pressure off our offensive line. And I think that's where I've seen the biggest jump. It wouldn't be a statistic or a number, but just cleaning up some of the footwork and understanding that sometimes the separation might be a little bit tighter. Like in the bowl game, the separation isn't going to be as much. Those are great DBs that we played against, and maybe we're transitioning off to the second read instead of taking that first read. So I think that's where he's grown, and he's taken a big jump up from last year to this year.
When you went through fall camp and you had Jonathan Bennett and then you had Kaidon and you hadn't made that decision yet, and then finally you made the decision to go with Kaidon, obviously, which was a great decision. What was it about Kaidon going into that first game and throughout the season that surprised you the most, that he was better than what you thought he would be?
I think his instincts. When it's Coach Scott made this, we go through every single player at the end of July when we're about to start training camp. Coach Scott and his staff and the strength staff, they go through every single player, an individual report on every single player, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and where they can take their next step. And with Kaidon, he said he's probably the most competitive guy we have on our team. I think that shows up on game day. He is a gamer. When the lights are on, that's where he shines the brightest. And he has instincts. He does things in games that I think the best clip to describe that would be FIU. We're playing FIU on the road, and there's a goal line play where really there's no read on it. We're handing it off to Quentin Cooley, which is usually a good decision inside the 5-yard line or any time. But they blitz the corner off the backside. And we didn't tell him anything about, hey, if the corner blitzes, you got to read that guy. He's not even looking at the guy. He's opening up this way, and he feels the corner blitz.
Felt the instinct.
Pulled it, and he scored, you know? And that had nothing to do with coaching or teaching or anything. So his instincts are outstanding when it's game day and when it's live, and ultra competitive. Like even not even just game day. If we're going up against the defense, he's talking trash. That's who he is. That's how he's
has a little bit of a problem.
No, we had this conversation. Kaidon did come on the Flame Central podcast finally.
Powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Powered by Alcova Mortgage. Thank you. And we talked about this last year. Like, how do you let him go out there and be who he is? I feel like that might have brought you guys closer together. What's your relationship like, and how much has it grown since last year and that? Because you kind of just let him be who he was instead of like, hey, you can't be doing that, like what I did here. Saying you can't do that. Be humble. And you kind of just said, no, that's not who he is. Let him.
I think you got at the end of the day with all those guys, how they're wired and how they're put together, and how, I think there's maybe some strengths and maybe some weaknesses within it, but at the end of the day, that's how he's wired and that's who he is, and I can't take that edge away from him, because that's who. Yeah. That's what makes him special.
But not all coaches, I feel like, would do that and have done that maybe. So
I think you just got to put up some guardrails, in terms of, when he is
can't hurt the team.
You can't hurt the team. It can't be anything that goes anything past that. And he's so competitive, and he wants to go out. Like every drill we do, if we don't win the drill, I mean, he's angry. He is frustrated, and he wants to win every drill, and that's great. That's what you want. You want that competitive drive and desire, and sometimes you want it to come in more of an encouraging way when he's talking to his team and stuff like that. So, but at the end of the day, you got to let him be him, and you just try to, when you see it maybe go too far one way or the other, just try to get him back on that path where it's not detrimental to the team or to the game or anything like that, which it hasn't for us.
All right, for the salt shaker, yeah. For people that don't know, obviously you were a high-level quarterback yourself, so you've lived in this world. Take me into the mind of the quarterback in this situation. Last year, you have C.J. Daniels, right? 1,400 yards or whatever he ended up with. You had your go-to guy. This year, media jokers like us are all like, but this year you've got weapons all over. You can spread it out. There's no one guy they can stop. As a quarterback, do you almost have to retrain yourself a little bit when you've had that one dude that if I'm going to jam, I know I can put it up there and he can go get it? Whereas now maybe you have more talent across the board, but at least to this point, a guy hasn't shown himself to be that 1A receiver. How does it change in the mind of a quarterback not having that top guy?
Well, I think two things. I think first of all, this year probably the numbers end up looking a little bit different once you get to the end of the season.
Sure.
I think it won't be this was our leading receiver. Could be wrong, but I don't think it'll be
like
this was
CJ
and a big gap because I think and we had plenty of talent to do that. Last year it's just CJ was just so dynamic. You're moving CJ around to make sure the read and the progression and the rules for the quarterback told him that that's where I was going to look first. And now I think it won't be as big of a gap between. I think it's going to be spread out a little bit more, maybe not evenly, but not as big of a gap. But I think I asked in terms of what your thought process is as a quarterback. I asked him the other day, a couple of days ago. I said, all right, he's warming up. I was like, it's 3rd and 8, game's on the line. Who are you going to? Yeah. And he said, well, what's the play? What's the pass concept?
That's what you want.
So like as a quarterback, you're not necessarily thinking, okay, I'm throwing over here. I still have to go through my progression and my reads because, we might want to go to CJ on this play, but the coverage dictates that I don't go that way. So, but I think that also shows maturity and him understanding football and growing in terms of his mental aspect of the game and how he prepares for each practice and each game. He's not necessarily thinking, guys, that's our job. That's our job as a staff to move the personnel around to put them in the right spot. But it's his job to go through what does the defense tell me? Where do I work? What's my progression? All those types of things.
And to trust you that you know best with what you're giving him, right? Yeah.
Even numbers within the receivers, that might mean that you guys have a chance in the
Your fantasy numbers are going to be, your fantasy draft is going to be.
I need
to
give them some hope.
So with that being said, who through fall camp, who have been you have a lot of new faces at receiver, a lot of different guys, a lot of competitiveness there. Who are some of the guys that have stood out and you see heading in the right direction that could be that 3rd and 8 guy?
I think going into the season, people that follow the program are probably saying, oh, well, CJ's gone. Who's now what? What's going to happen? Every single practice, there's been a couple of different guys that have stood up and stood out and made plays. I think just off the rip, off the cuff, Treon Sibley, you're returning leading receiver.
Which people forget.
I know.
Before he got dinged up, like the first 5 or 6 games, he was the leading receiver.
Yes.
So he started really strong last year.
He's strong, tough, contested catches, that's him, and understands the offense. So he has a big day. And then, Darius Copeland's a guy that redshirted last year and has had a big camp. And then the next day it's Elijah Canyon making contested catches. And then the next day it's Tyson Mobley making plays. And then Reese Smith just got cleared this week to take team rep.
Let's go.
So there's so many. I'm trying, and then in the scrimmage, I think Dante Lee and Colin Austin both had 5 catches apiece. So really, it's been every single day. There's been another guy that has stepped up, and
you I think you're going to play tight ends yet.
Haven't even talked about the tight ends. That might be your deepest room on the offense. So really, it's exciting because I think going into it, everyone's kind of like, okay, who's going to step up and be this and be that, and it's been a really strong competition in that room, and kind of exchanging who's been the hot hand every practice.
Who's your replacement for Aaron Bedgood?
Aaron Bedgood, that is a tough young man to replace. I don't know if you can replace a young man like that just because of everything that he brought to the table.
Including selling insurance.
He sells insurance. There's another coach on the field. He hikes Liberty Mountain. He did it all. He did it all. There's nothing. He was skydiving last weekend. He's doing it all. So tough one to replace. But in terms of that role, I mean, that's one of the biggest things we discovered last year is just how dangerous we feel like we are to defend.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you have a Kaidon Salter, when you have the talent, for sure. But in terms of preparing for us, really difficult to prepare for because how do you when you have that type of player, and Aaron Bedgood, as a defensive coordinator, do you treat him like a receiver?
Right.
Do you treat him like a running back? We're lining up in the backfield, but then he's lined up as a receiver. So that's a challenge for a defensive coordinator for so going forward, we really that's kind of like what you want the blueprint of the offense to look like. You want to have that slash type guy. So Julian Gray transferred in and is molded into that role. Probably more of an emphasis on receiver, but using him in the backfield. Eric Smith is a freshman that's going to be somebody that takes over that type of role. Vaughn Blue, you look at Vaughn Blue as a running back, but Vaughn Blue catches the ball extremely well. Great touchdown catch the first game. So he's, you might not look at him quite as like AB because AB was playing receiver and then we had to move him to running back, and Vaughn's more of a running back, but he has tremendous hands and understands route running. So that's another guy that you'll use in that role. And Darius Copeland could be a guy too that you want to try and cross train. It's just, but we know how I don't know if any of those guys, any of those receivers, the thing that made AB special was Jacksonville State, where we ran the ball at them and were in those big heavy sets. Aaron Bedgood got the player of the game from that game because he caught the touchdown pass, but he was the lead blocker for Quentin Cooley on about 20 inside runs. So when we gave him the player of the game, we put up a graphic that was Aaron Bedgood, his face on a Mike Allstott body, the fullback from the Tampa Bay, and the player of the game was Aaron Allstott for that game. So I don't know if you have that. But you have a lot of things at your disposal when you have that type of guy with our system.
I think it was Bedgood that sprung the last block on the Kaidon Salter touchdown run in the conference championship game as well. The one where he made about 6 guys miss, and Bedgood had that block.
Big knockdown on it.
Coach, not to get too deep in the weeds here with that from a scheme standpoint, but this stuff really interests me. When you have a guy like a Bedgood, you try to replace him like that, from a defensive standpoint as a coordinator, when he's on the field, whether he can play running back, whether you line up as a receiver position, in your mind, when you're calling plays and you have that kind of guy, does that force the defensive coordinator's hand to say, listen, we can't play man if we have to match up a linebacker on this guy if they put him in the slot from a personnel standpoint? Or so then it thinks, okay, you feel that way as if like, okay, now I know helps determine what coverage I'm going to get with these guys in there. So how does that position is obviously very important. How does that position help you from a schematic standpoint with being able to like have guys a lead blocker, but also can run a post route for a touchdown?
It's a game changer for us, and I think one of the best resources that I have is talking to our defensive staff that you practice against and you line up against all the time. And Kyle Krantz, Coach McGee, Teddy Gallagher, Aaron Fearball, all those guys give great feedback on, hey, this is a challenge on us. This is a problem. When you have Julian Gray lined up in the slot, but then you have the same personnel group and then he's lining up in the backfield, they just talk about how it shrinks their call sheet. There's only so many things they just can't call anything. Game plan wise going into it, are they treating that like 11 personnel where he's a receiver? Right. Are you treating that like 21 personnel with as a running back? And I think probably most people would say last year, my guess would be they would treat Aaron Bedgood more like a running back, and that was like 21 personnel, but he would line up outside and run routes from the slot. I think probably going into it, you would treat Julian Gray like a receiver, like it's 11 personnel, but he's going to be used in a lot of different ways. So, and the same thing can be said for Von Blue. But I think that's the challenge for them. How do you look at that? How do you view that as a defensive staff? And are you safe with all the calls that you're carrying when that guy's in the game? And I think it just shrinks their call sheet.
And how long does it take you in game where you look at, okay, I got a feel for how we're going to go into this personnel, and I got a feel now for how they're going to defend? Does that take a couple series to figure that out? A quarter? Like when do you have feel, okay, now I know what they're going to do and I can counteract it this way?
I would say probably after the second drive, you got to second drive. The first drive, the first 10, you're scripting, not necessarily to get a feel for how they're playing you. What are our best plays? And you're getting the ball to your best players. And then after that second drive, once you get off the script, then you're kind of getting a feel for, okay, what adjustments we make. But I think usually by the second drive is usually when you're thinking, you got to kind of feel how that defensive coordinator wants to play you. And the difference this year is you're going to have the tablets on the sideline and in the booth. So we've practiced it with it last scrimmage, and we're still kind of working out the kinks. I mean, the headset communication with the quarterback's been awesome, game changer on that. So just where it affects us is, if you need the quarterback to check you into a certain play, there are certain plays where you just signal it in, and Kaidon would handle the check on his own, and he does a great job with it. And we have confidence in him that he can do it. But you don't want to go into a game plan that, all right, Kaidon, here's the 20 checks you have to handle. You're going to make him play slow because he's having. So now you can take a couple of those checks that the quarterback would normally handle, and we just handle on our own, and we can just flip into his headset and say, hey, get us into this play. And
do they cut off the mic at a certain point?
At 15 seconds.
15? Okay.
So we've been practicing with it all fall camp. I'll hear the little, it's just like a little beep sound that goes off that lets you know that he can't hear you anymore. So on those plays, you got to get lined up quick because the play clock does jump on you a little bit quicker. And then as far as the tablets go, I think that will probably expedite the process of how you get a feel for how defensive coordinators line up to you and defending you, because before you still need to have great eyes up in the box and on the sideline of calling out how they're lining up to you, what adjustments they're making. But now you can kind of fact check it immediately after, instead of getting to halftime and talking about some of those adjustments. You got it right there.
Just when Ryan Carr thinks that he didn't have anything else to add to his responsibilities, he's crushing it.
He's dominating it. So,
I have no doubt in that.
So That's awesome. First year in Conference USA, a lot of these teams had never seen either your offense, or maybe if they had a history against Coastal, they hadn't seen this offense with this personnel, with these guys. Year two, I guess the bigger question is, do you guys tweak year to year? How much do you tweak and try to change things? Or is it basically listen, you didn't figure out how to stop us last year, good luck this year? How much changing is there year to year with what you run?
I actually feel there's actually a lot of new defense coordinators in the league compared to last year. So you are playing the same team, but it's a new defensive staff. So some of those games that you had in common last year, you might not be able to use because it's a new staff. But I actually think if you're going into year two, it's actually I feel like it's an advantage for us, because sometimes when you're going into some of those games and you don't know how they're going to line up to a spread option offense and some of the personnel groupings that we carry, you're kind of like, this is our best guess what we feel like they're going to line up. Now you kind of, okay, that's how you want to line up to it, and they'll have their adjustments for sure too. But I actually think going into when you play a defensive coordinator or a defensive staff a second time, you got a little bit of you feel a little bit more confident going into because you know the pictures you're going to be seeing. And then the first part of that question you asked, year to year, is it the same? I mean, the core plays that you run, you're going to run. It's just every offseason, game to game, finding a new way of presenting it differently. So it looks confusing to the defense, but it's easy for our guys. But there's always going to be a little tweak here and there. Really, for us, we spend more time talking about where your strengths are personnel-wise, and make sure the offense is dictated towards those guys, and to allow them to shine.
We just have to point out the stash. This is obviously, if you're not familiar.
Which way should I look?
The mustache is a fall camp thing. I mean, who has the best mustache growing right now during fall camp?
I feel pretty confident what I'm going here, but I'll
you've done a good job.
To the point where so this is going on, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years now that our staff does this, and it kind of grows.
It is
first
so
couple
creepy.
years. My wife Charlotte, she's kind of not a huge fan of it. Maybe this is a sign of like we're getting into our mid to late 30s.
She
She's
doesn't
like,
even care anymore.
Not that she doesn't care.
Good.
Actually,
You have a
know what?
mustache? I didn't realize.
It actually looks pretty good.
Oh,
That's good.
So,
That's good.
but
That is so funny.
another one I would say maybe Bobby Ruff, our defensive analyst. Yeah, it's kind of it's getting Magnum level, you know, where it's kind of coming around the.
You think that these guys support the Flames? Clearly not.
I could do it. I could do it. I haven't seen none of Joe.
I have a little beard on, but not mustache.
I think
It's so
you guys
creepy.
You guys are successful guys. Had a tremendous amount of respect for you guys, but I think if you go mustaches, I think
Next
you
level.
talk about can you take me higher? That's how you
it.
take
All right,
yourself
I knew
higher.
Creed.
Right
I
there.
knew Creed
That's
was
how you
gonna
take yourself
land
higher
a
right there.
lion in this.
You know, since he said speaking of successful guys,
Where could this go?
No, this is gonna be good. I saw something on Twitter the other day. X, sorry, it's called X now. I saw something
Colton Korn?
and no, there's Colton Korn. Yeah, that was good. Brother Colton Korn. Yeah, give Colton Korn a shout. He's a high rising player personnel guy on X. But the whole, I mean, Larry Korn's sitting at home with a big smile on his face because now Colton Korn gets the high rising player personnel guy. And then after that, I see in Liberty fans, this is what you got here on the mountain, right? It comes out top quarterback coaches in the nation, and at number 4, Willy Korn. Let's go, baby.
That's rat.
Oh
That's
my
rat.
gosh.
It's rat poison. Rat poison. Rat poison.
Stop.
Rat poison.
You're gonna injure
Rat
him.
poison.
Oh,
Let me know when we get to the next segment.
No,
That's
okay,
all a
this
reflection of
will-
having good players. That's all that
this
means. That means you have good
will
players.
Let's go, baby.
We had Coach Lynham on a couple weeks ago, and he said, we asked best overall athlete on the coaching staff, and he said your younger brother.
Yeah.
So
you know
as
what?
the older brother,
what-
how does that feel? So I'm bringing you back down, Willie.
No, yeah,
I'm
I
bringing you
appreciate
back
that.
down.
You know what? The guy's in tremendous shape. He has surpassed me. I can't keep up with him on the basketball court
Did you
anymore.
see my comment?
No.
When they had everybody's like, congratulations, Colton, player personnel. And it was like high riser. And I just commented, your pickleball game definitely hasn't risen.
Has not got an invite to the JP.
He's not got an invite.
Well, Matt just dropped out, so there's a
I
spot
retired.
open. He
I
retired.
retired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shoes
went
are
out of
so
time.
big.
Colton might try to fill that
Yeah.
role, but
Question for you. I got a
Let's get
couple of
back on
quick
track.
quick
Yeah.
ones if you don't mind.
I'll get back to you.
People may know you're famous for performing Wonderwall by Oasis during a talent show back in your Clemson days. Just search
God
Willy
bless
Korn
YouTube.
singing on YouTube. It'll pull right up. You can watch it for yourself.
I have not seen that.
You should. What
I
would be
pull it
your
up now?
go-to
Hey,
song?
so hold on, quick story there. I just played the guitar. My best friend and roommate, Landon Walker, is the one that sang it.
Yeah.
He is actually the
guitar?
I do. I strum.
Wow, there you go. Something we didn't know.
Wow.
His name is Landon Walker.
Yeah.
He is the fuel guy for William Byron
Get
NASCAR
outta
team.
here.
Really?
Daytona
What?
500. He's
Yeah.
there.
See,
I had no
Liberty is
idea.
always part. It
Yeah.
always goes back.
Well,
to Liberty.
that's great. I was just gonna say, what would your go-to song be right now to perform? Like that was then. This is now.
That's a great question.
Celine
So,
Dion, Life Goes On.
Yeah, depending on what kind of
Yeah.
emotional state you're in.
Yeah, right.
you
Come
feel
off a
it?
win, come
You
off
can
a
feel
loss.
very
Right,
frank.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I like to, when the players are stretching, I like to just, have a 5-minute conversation. One I don't interact with a lot, maybe or something, but I was walking by Bentley's line. I was like, all right, Bentley, give me give me a fun fact. You like interesting that I don't know about you. Are you like, he's like, oh, I don't know. That's what they usually say. Like, you play an instrument? Do you have hidden talent? He's like, he played the piano up until he's 15 years old. And
wow, out of the office with Bentley and Willie.
Yeah, and his instructor said that if he would have kept pursuing it, he would have been like big time. We could have done and performed. Really? But he was embarrassed about it, and he didn't, because too bad. So. Which Bentley, that's, he's 30 years old now, so he stopped. So it's 15 years ago, so I don't know. I'm just kidding, he's not 30.
Yeah.
But if I had to play a song now, the reason I told you that is because he asked me the same thing. I said, I'll play guitar. What song would you play? I'd probably go a Jack Johnson, he was
that's great.
When I was in college, he's a big
Banana
deal,
pancakes,
Banana pancakes, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Cool. You want to play a song that people would sing, so you don't have to sing.
The whole Curious George soundtrack. We know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was walking around the offices the other day, and I'm like, Willie, how was your summer? He's like, yeah, I was skating backwards with a couple of the guys at the local rink, backwards to Creed. I'm like,
did you really?
That is we should not be doing it.
Chief of Staff Brad Queen's daughter, Caroline, had a birthday party at the skating rink, and great time. My kids had a great time. It was awesome. But once they started like serving pizza and having presents, some of the adults put the skates on. Myself, Chad Scott, Cody Leducco, Brad Queen got out there. We were the only ones out there, and we talked the guy into playing some Creed, and it was.
Listen,
I was hovering above my body watching it.
I just imagine Brad Queen, full head of steam on the skates, and all these little kids being like, like train going through. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It was awesome. We had it to ourselves. The kids were out of the way. They were eating pizza, so it was just four adults.
Four adult men.
Yeah.
I
picture Brad Queen out of control going through the open door into the pizza table, taking the whole thing out.
You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
It was. It was.
Kind of a
it was
Chris
very
Farley
smooth.
vibe.
It was
A little bit of Chris Farley vibe.
Oh my gosh, that's too much. My quick question. We had the Father's Day thing, and your kids are so cute and so fun. And when they're young,
right? Video. Appreciate you guys doing
yeah,
that.
of course.
Awesome. We love that.
But kids, I feel like at that age, always do something so funny. Was there a funny moment from this summer that you shared with your kids and your family?
Oh man, off the cuff.
That was
something with our kids. In that video, I think you guys used the clip where you guys asked something like, what do you like to do with your dad? And she said Fish Place.
Yes.
What she's referring to is the Sequest place at the mall. She calls it the Fish Place.
Gotcha. I thought it was like Captain D's.
I probably should have
right. Yeah.
That's come on, let's go to Long John Silver.
Yeah, right.
It's like the dad.
She loves fine dining.
Dad on a Talladega Nights. We're going to the Applebee's.
Yeah.
Go get kicked out of the Applebee's.
So, me and my son have Matt. I won't take my hat off, but we got mullets for 4th of July. We went to Myrtle Beach for 4th of July.
I need to see this. You can't say that and then not.
It's not. It's there. It's a baby mullet.
Wondering.
Leducco good, but it's pretty good.
Leducco is really kind of a different category, though. That's more Nicolas Cage and Con Air. It's really it's slick back, so it's different. But his is pretty glorious out the back door. Yeah.
Oh man, y'all are
last thing for me. Have you or anyone in your family been attacked by a yellow jacket this summer? Because we have all been stung in like the last week.
My daughter got stung on the face like 3 or 4 days ago.
They're a menace.
Isn't it?
They're a menace. It's everybody.
Yeah, when I got home that night, it wasn't inflamed as much, I guess, when it first happened. So,
it's a real problem.
First thing she said when I came in the door.
We're just spreading awareness.
We're trying to bring awareness.
Yeah.
I got stung in the wrist and my whole arm, so my wife started calling me Professor Clump.
I was
She's
really
real
worried
sympathetic.
about his ring was like cutting out the circulation. It was not pretty. One more. We talked a lot about the other rooms, the quarterback room. Obviously, Kaidon's the guy. But what can you tell us about some of the other guys in that room and that competition that they're bringing Kaidon?
So Ryan Berger transferred to us from App State. He won the backup job in the spring. Has had a really great offseason. Been a great addition to the room. Nate Hampton has been here since the beginning of his career, and he's just awesome. He's just such a great guy to have in the room.
That. Everyone you talk to says like the ultimate teammate.
And so we have senior talks during fall camp, and guys have opportunities to get up there and just share who their hero is, what's a hardship, and what does it mean to be a Liberty Flame. And just I wish it was recorded and people could listen to it. It's just awesome. He's just so humble, and he's just his family's done a tremendous job of raising him. I mean, I almost started like chanting USA because at one point he was like, he's like, you know what? Yeah, because his older brothers in Ranger School was a member of the U.S. Army, went to West Point, played football there, and now he's going through Army Ranger School, and he's talking about how his brother makes all these sacrifices and his dad make all these sacrifices, and at one point he's like, man, I just love the United States of America, and I love our troops, and I'll do whatever it takes to help out this team. So anyways, he's an awesome guy. And then Jaden Bradford enrolled in January. He's our incoming freshman, and then Miles McKeechin walked onto the team in January. So we got a great room, a lot of great humble personalities. These guys work well together, pull for each other, and they come prepared every single day. They make it. I just try to, I'm 35 now, and sometimes you realize some of the references you make maybe go over their heads. So I use that as educational opportunities, maybe show them a clip from a movie that they maybe don't know, or a musical reference or something like that. So, but they make it fun. They make it enjoyable every day.
That's awesome. You got anything else?
No, that's great.
What game are you most excited about this year?
The first one, Campbell.
Right.
Campbell's. Coach speak. Are you kidding me? Come on. No. In practice today.
That's right. That's right. That's good.
Willy Korn, you're always such a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time, guys. You good?
No.
Oh,
can't wait for the
thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Whoa.
We actually just did a photo shoot because this is like I'm
We're
gonna
updating
design.
it.
We
We're
are
updating
updating it. You can't wake up and sip. You can't even see in the morning, and that says Alcova Mortgage on the back. I'm gonna redesign it. People.
This one's
Don't
for me?
worry.
This is for you, but listen, look
Last
at
time he
that
left us
camera
in
right
the
there, and you
hallway.
say, get your refinance powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Get your refinance powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Bam.
This guy's a pro.
Or Quentin Cooley will bring a flamethrower to your house.
You've enjoyed that. You've enjoyed that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Great.
I think he enjoys it.
I'm gonna tell you what.
That thing is not
Just
allowed
kidding.
on campus.
I'm referencing a video there. I don't know.
We love having Alcova and having Brylan Green and Quentin Cooley, and those two are starting to come out of their shell a little bit, and they're doing such a great job. And the whole flamethrower thing, we got some more good ideas. Just there may be an okay corral scene coming up.
Speaking of sacrifice,
we're not giving you more than that.
This is off season. No more flamethrower. You can do
no.
Speaking of sacrifice, Matt is videoing it and saying getting gasoline pouring.
I almost lost my life.
Sacrifice for
You know what else? The flamethrower is good for? Yellow jackets.
I might need to borrow that.
All right. Willy, thank you so much for your time. You're always great.
I enjoyed it.
Gosh, I love Willy Korn.
Great
so happy
stuff.
to have him on. The flamethrower just continues to end up in the conversation. If you've used a flamethrower and you no longer have a house and you want to have
Burn
a
your house down.
Burn it down.
That's why we can't bring this thing on campus. I have a guy for you. Alcova Mortgage, Yacht Talk, baby.
Alcova.com/Liberty. The flamethrower's got big plans for this season.
Okay.
With Quentin Cooley, Brylan Green, we're gonna unleash some flames.
I can tell you this.
That we got big plans this season for the flamethrower.
After the Fan Fest, all the players signing autographs in the indoor. My son Jack, we got an autograph from Brylan Green, and he asked him why don't they let you shoot the flamethrower? And Brylan's like, I know. Why not?
What?
I need to get a chance.
Why is that?
So maybe it's been kind of Quentin's
Is that
deal.
part of the tease?
I don't know.
Oh, he'll shoot it. Yes, he's gonna shoot it. Oh, he'll shoot it.
Oh my God.
We got bigger and better things coming.
As long as Matt isn't holding the phone and
I
we don't
just
lose
want to keep a safe distance.
Another surprise before we get to mine was the new unis.
How about the baby blues?
The baby blues,
Joe?
baby.
Now listen, before Joe, we get your take, because I know exactly where you're going.
No,
I see that
Oh
sparkle
my
in your
gosh.
eye. I know where you're
my
going to go.
gosh,
I already know. I knew it. And I saw you tweet it out. I knew you were going to do it. You couldn't hold back. Here was an interesting experiment, okay? And this just kind of shows you the demographics. The creative team put out an awesome video.
Great video.
Revealing the baby
I think
blue
that
uniforms.
was that at Thomas Road?
I'm not sure.
I think it was on there.
You go to Instagram.
Yeah.
And all the comments are like, oh, so fire, awesome, love them, this is awesome, been waiting for these. You go to Facebook and you get, this is not navy blue, this is not tradition.
Yeah.
And it is funny to see the majority of comments on the two different platforms are totally different. But I like them.
I love them.
I think for an alternate uniform, and here's the bottom line, and I've told this to people before that have complained about other things to me. It's not for us. When it really comes down to it, right? It's for, do the players love them? And do the guys that are going to be players, they hope in a year, 2 years, 3 years,
do they love them?
Right.
That's what matters. Are you going to complain about what uniform they're wearing when they're getting 4-star kids coming in?
That's
no,
right.
you're not. So in the grand scheme of things,
selling merchandise
it sells.
doesn't hurt either.
Kids love it.
The kids care about
Oregon
that
has
kind of
made
stuff these days.
a
Like that is who they are. Like that is what they are now. They built a whole brand off of all their uniform combinations, and the recruits love them.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
Joe, would you like to have a take on this?
Two things.
Okay.
Two things. One, the closer that you can get to Carolina blue, the better off you are.
I knew where you were going.
Right.
Because give me a 5-year recap of what they've done in college football.
No, don't do it. Carolina's been good. They've been good. They had Drake May.
Really high expectations.
Okay, so the closer you get to Carolina blue, the better. That's the first point I want to bring up. The second, I want to give a shout out, because you said it right there, to the media team. I was on, because I've done a couple of the Carolina broadcasts for radio, and so I was on the plane. We were traveling to Pitt, and so I happened to be seated by the UNC media, like the social media people, all the graphics, all that stuff. And so I was telling about how I do stuff at Liberty, blah, blah, and all that different thing we were talking. He's like, man, the media people at North Carolina, we're like, those Liberty folks, they know what they're doing. They got it going on. Like we try to sort of model ourselves or a lot of the stuff that we do after some of the stuff that they do. So it was a really good conversation.
That video has 67,000 views on just on Twitter alone.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love it. Shout out to our creative team. So we do the Snell scoring system, or the Snell.
Okay.
There is a Snell scoring system.
I want to tease
this. But this
right.
is when, if you are new here at the Flame Central podcast, I haven't. Is it bad to wait 8 minutes into the show to say this is the Flame Central podcast powered by Alcova Mortgage?
I mean, we got it. We keep it branded.
But we at the end or before every game, we do like a score prediction, and then. Is this scoring have to do with if we're gonna say, Quentin Cooley's gonna score 3 touchdowns?
We also make a bold prediction,
which is different. Prediction.
But
I love how I'm explaining this to
the
people,
score
and
is
I
what
don't even know what's happening.
We do the score prediction, so I would say 55-21 Liberty,
right?
That's
a big win.
And so then we have a guy, Jeff Snell, out in Idaho.
Yeah.
Is it Idaho? It is Idaho.
You better get it right, because you forgot his name last
And he has a scoring system that he developed that then he grades us out
otherwise
each
known
week.
as the
Snell scoring system. Well, so next week we'll make our first pick, but it gets even better. Next week we are also going to debut a new Snell scoring system song. I've heard it.
I thought
it's fantastic.
Do you not know about this?
Joe has not heard it yet. You will love it. So next week,
there's a song. Is it a jingle?
No, it's not a jingle. It is a rock anthem.
It's an anthem.
You're gonna enjoy it. So get ready for that. That's next week.
I
heard the guitar intro for Money for Nothing.
Well, not quite, but it's pretty darn good. So you're gonna love that. That's next week.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe Joe has not heard this.
I have not played it.
I have not.
It is incredible, because I had very, very
by the way,
no offense, Jeff, but I had very low expectations. I thought it was just going to be kind of a joke, and it is. I think he might get a record label deal for this.
Jeff Snell. Yeah.
Jeff.
And Em, if you would just slide over, can you take Em's shot here in the middle, the tight one? Slide the other way. You see that trophy right there? Yeah. That's the trophy I won for winning the Snell scoring system, the game prediction last year. So that's what we're all competing for. It's a traveling trophy.
Do we want to get into that?
So speaking of that, so Matt, I'm sure now that Joe sees that nice trophy. Was that this past season that he made that?
Yes.
We're going into the 5th annual
I'm not happy.
Flames Fantasy League.
Right.
And Matt won twice. I won twice. And sometimes you do need something to play. We're playing for bragging rights and stuff like that.
Pride.
Oh.
But
we're playing for something now.
Wait a minute. This is a surprise. We weren't ready for this.
We are going to be playing.
Would you take that from the rec league?
No, I made this.
You made this?
AMF bowling?
Yeah.
I
literally molded this. I made this.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Yeah, I purchased.
Beautiful.
I hand created.
Look at the flames.
I built this from scratch, and when it said, I actually did this during one of the press conferences, and the coaches were dying. They're like, you definitely need to get a trophy. And right then and right there, I knew that we needed. So I'll keep this in my office, or we can keep it on set if we want.
We could probably keep it somewhere.
We'll be playing for this year.
Wow.
That's a beautiful trophy.
What I need to find is
one eagle to represent you, me, and Joe.
Exactly. I put so much thought into this trophy. But we need to get the gold plates on the side, and then the winner in the year.
Yeah.
So that is my surprise for you guys. So now, Joe, maybe
I love that.
you
Now
will be able.
Now he's serious.
Now it just got
gets
real.
legit.
It just got real.
Pride isn't enough.
So that's where we take it into.
Good job, Emily.
This is the issue right now.
Okay, so here's where we're at. I know this has been kind of a train wreck. Let me get us back focused.
If this doesn't go one direction,
So this week we are taping the Flames Fantasy Draft. It will air on the Flame Central TV show on Friday. It releases on Friday. We'll put it into the podcast next week.
You can watch it on the Liberty Flames YouTube channel or ESPN Plus.
Here's the problem we're having. Determining the draft order. Joe
I don't
thinks
understand why it's a problem.
that since he's finished last, he should get the first pick. We should just go in inverse order, right? Worst to first.
They do in every major sports league.
We just randomize it and do it that way.
Randomize.
And what do you want to do here?
I mean, throw the guy a bone.
You know what? Here's the
getting
problem.
Killed for last
Here's
5
the
years.
problem,
Throw me a
Matt.
bone.
If we don't let him get the first pick, I
Then
know
he'll have an
that in
excuse
November,
all
when
year.
I'm like having to bring in a box of Kleenexes because Joe is losing, because if we do the randomizer and he gets the third pick, he's going to blame that the entire season of why he's
Here's
losing.
what I'm scared about.
He has no excuse now.
Is that whoever he drafts first overall, which I think we all know who it probably be, Joe has a bad injury history. I don't want to put that on whoever he ends up selecting. You know? So that concerns me a little.
It's a past. It's a past.
The past
Live in
is
the
the past.
future. Past is the past.
Okay.
Future.
Are we settled
I'm
then? Do we
fine
just want to
with
go?
it.
There'll
I'm
be
fine
Joe,
with it.
first pick, then me, then Em. It's the snake draft, so then you get 2 picks and we go back and forth. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so do you see what I did right there? Whenever you're in, this is business.
Business 101.
Business 101.
Art of the deal.
Whenever you're in the whenever you're at the negotiating table, right? And you know you're going to get your way.
Yeah.
I saw it heading that direction, which I was very happy with. And I'm very thankful for you two. But when you go in that direction, they say, just shut up.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
I know, I noticed
so
it.
I just let that. I let that.
And
I
that,
let
and
that
we've never
ride
gotten
its-
that from you
You've
before.
never gotten that part.
So
Once
you're
I
right.
saw it
That's
head in
never
my
happened.
direction,
Yeah.
when I saw that thing head in my direction,
Hey.
I'm like, I'm just going to be
Yeah.
quiet. So that, man,
You
first overall
didn't
pick.
hear it here first.
First overall pick.
Love it.
First overall.
Good job.
Okay, so whatever. He gets his way. That's the first and last time that happens. Let's talk a little NFL and wrap this thing up.
Quickly, yeah.
NFL, I said. Story Jackson got a 1-year deal
Nice.
with the Atlanta
Falcons,
Falcons. So congrats to him, former linebacker here at Liberty. So hopefully we can see some success with him. Demario Douglas, I think he still might be nursing.
He had 1 catch, 1 yard.
Yeah.
He played, just not a lot.
Not a
Listen,
lot.
they're treating him like a starter, which
Are
he
they?
is. So he didn't play a ton.
Yeah, I think
Will
he is
Drake
still
May win
nursing
that
a little
job?
hand injury.
You know, a lot of people are starting to get on the Drake May bandwagon.
I think that he might, because he's going to get Kobe Brissett.
Yeah,
Kobe's
just
just
Kobe
like
Brissett.
a
Yeah, he's just
he's journeyman.
been around
He's
a
like
long
a
time, yeah.
back. Yeah, he's like a second string journeyman.
And then Malik Willis still as of Monday morning. I don't think there's any decision that's
12 of
made
16 in their game against the Seahawks. For 116 yards, he did have a pick, which wasn't great, and he ran for 30 yards.
I listened to a podcast on Malik Willis after that game, the guy Tennessee Titan podcast, and he said he didn't bash Malik, right, but he was like he did some good things. He threw a touchdown pass, but he's like he also like had some bad misses too. So it was sort of like a mixed bag for him.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
We touched on it a little bit earlier, but in the Live Greenbrier tournament, Kieran Vincent, first round, second, and third round, he shot 3 under and actually made some big putts for their team, like the Legion team.
One event left on the Live Tour for the season.
I think it's in Chicago.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was great catching up with him. So we'll have a mic'd up on that Pro-Am round later this week, and then a full-length interview or feature with him in a couple weeks. So that's exciting stuff.
Can I just say one last time, next week's podcast, the last one before the football season begins, we are blowing it out. Who's coming on the show, Em?
Jamie Chadwell.
Jamie Chadwell. Jamie Chadwell's coming on the show.
It's a back-to-school blowout.
Back-to-school blowout. Back-to-school bash.
All furniture marked 65% off.
That's good.
Back-to-school blowout.
So we'll have that. We'll
It's a
have
Flame
fantasy
Central
draft.
blowout.
We'll have Snell's scoring system. We'll have a new song that's going to be
Oh,
you're going to put it on your workout
sounds like a
playlist.
blowout.
Oh,
it's
my
all next week is huge. Huge show. Don't miss it.
We are going to have no listeners on this show by next week.
One other thing. I keep interrupting.
Oh, my God.
One other thing, and we'll talk maybe more about this next week as well, but just want to put it on your radar. Flame Central Game Day is back this year.
It's back.
And so,
it's back, and it's a blowout.
It's a blowout. Back.
So every home game,
starring Rhett McGibbon.
Rhett McGibbon, an hour before the game, streaming a whole hour-long pregame show. I think we'll be involved in it in some way. Joe may be at times. Other great cast of characters, but they'll be doing interviews. Remember last year they got on the field interview with a player with the earpiece in and talk to them. A lot of great analysis. So 1 hour prior to every home game, and then after every game as well, a great post-game show.
It's a post-game wrap-up.
So you want to catch that. Flame Central Game Day is back this year, better than ever. So be sure to make sure you just keep that in mind as you're getting ready for a game.
As far as the MLB goes, Will Wagner continuing to stay hot with the Blue Jays. He was called up, that was last week, right?
Yeah, he has started his big league career with 8 hits and 15 at-bats.
Yeah.
That's not too shabby.
That's that's
I loved how his
533 batting average.
His major league debut, he had 3 hits, and he's like, he's already passed his dad with because I think his dad only had 2 hits.
Yeah,
I know, but it was just funny.
No, he's off to a great start. So good for him. He couldn't do much better than he's done so far.
Frazier Ellard's still with the Chicago White Sox. He's had 5 appearances. He just pitched Saturday night. I think he had
Scoreless
1
inning,
strikeout.
I think,
So yeah, good for them. And then still nothing on. Oh my gosh, the third guy that was on.
Oh, Mason, Florida. He's
Mason.
close. He's close.
So, all right, guys, great show.
Awesome.
You have
Next
to
week.
be here next
Have
week.
to.
It's going to be some great stuff. And then, I feel like I'm missing something.
Last thing would be, you know what?
Oh, our mailbag.
Mailbag.
Hey, mailbag.
Yeah,
That's what I meant. I was like staring at this mug, and it's
I've got some.
nice work.
Mailbag.
So, last week we did a new photo shoot, okay? So, I'm going to make new mugs that are great.
Creative designer.
Yeah, she's on it.
Creative designer.
I might actually send it to our creative team because they seem much better.
Yeah, they
at
don't have
this.
anything going on right now.
So if you send in a question and we pick you as the winner, we will send you a mug. They're going to be new and improved. Maybe I'll have like the background of it, the Flames Fantasy League Champion Trophy. You never know. You never know. But our mailbag.
We do have a few mailbag questions this week.
Okay.
Fire.
FlamesCentral@liberty.edu if you want to send in an email to be a part of the show.
All right, Em, this one's for you specifically from our friend Robert. NFL's going to apparently live in-game interviews this year, like sideline interviews, which you see in the NBA, you see other things. This guy, Robert, wants to know, would this, Emily, as a sideline reporter, veteran sideline reporter, would this change the type of question as compared to what you ask, like at halftime, before halftime or after halftime? Like, would it change the type of questions you ask with it being live, like in the middle of, between quarters or middle second quarter? Or how would that change?
This is my issue. This is my personal opinion about the in-game interviews, or like, first of all, the coach and they're all great, right? Like it's nothing against them personally, but they are doing that interview and they are going to give you most likely the shortest answer possible because they either want to get back to the huddle if it's basketball, whatever. So it just, in my opinion, does not add anything to the broadcast. Am I going to get any new information from a coach after the first quarter? Like it just, I just think it's.
Nobody's
like
giving me like, hey,
time.
watch this next play. We're about to take a shot downfield.
Here comes the flea flicker. Here comes the flea
Then it would be worth it.
It's gonna be a blowout.
Hey, Matt, Joe, here comes the flea flicker.
Like what? Like find me one interview, and maybe I'm wrong. Find me one interview that's been in game.
Because the ones that are famous, they're all the ones with like Greg Popovich and stuff that are just so painful and bad. Those are the only ones people remember.
And to be honest with you, I'm not saying it affects the relationship like with like the coach and the reporter, but it's just like, well then it's just annoying. Like that I feel like annoying to the coach whenever I'm having to do these interviews when I literally just talked to you heading into the game. Like there's nothing new. Unless you're getting an injury update, but most of the time you're not.
Don't know. We'll
like
assess
lower
at
leg
halftime.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think
I'm with you.
I'm not a fan of this.
One other email we got.
Thanks, Bob.
From Mark Murdoch.
Mad Dog Murdoch.
He said ran into Joe at Fan Appreciation.
Yeah, I saw Mad Dog.
And he said this is the year for Joey Butterburn Huckleberry Switchback. This is the year to win the Flames Fantasy Football League.
Yes.
He says he's your biggest supporter. He said his confidence in you winning Flames Fantasy League is much higher than you ever running an 8 or 10-minute mile.
See why you got to take a shot.
He said a lap is.
He was so excited. And then he was like, "Come on."
He said a lap around the track is long, and he just doesn't see that really happening.
Well,
so
guess what? Yeah. It's a long season.
Yeah, neither do we. So thank you, Mark, for that little.
He has plenty of time to.
Yeah.
Neither do we.
Yeah. Hey, so there you go. Flames mailbag.
I did run into Mad Dog Murdoch.
I have had a couple people, even at the Greenbrier, come up to me and ask, like, when is Joe running the mile? And I'm just like,
you're like,
it's
Phil,
spreading
focus on your round.
to West Virginia.
Yeah.
Phil,
hey, Brooks.
Phil, just worry about hitting this drive straight for once.
Yeah. I'll worry about Joe.
Maybe
I'll take care of Joe.
Right.
You worry about
keeping
it on the fairway. Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening or watching. Another great Flames Center podcast powered by Alcova Mortgage. Don't miss next week. We're having the Flames Fantasy. We're doing Jamie Chadwellner. We're doing the Snell scoring system song debut. It's a full pack show.
I can't wait.
For Joe and Matt, I'm Emily. We'll see you then.
Peace.